Bonjour, bienvenue à notre rendez-vous quotidien pour la presse en ligne et en direct sur EBS. Nous sommes aujourd'hui le vendredi 30 avril. Comme d'habitude, permettez-moi de commencer mes annonces du vendredi avec l'agenda de la présidente von der Leyen pour la semaine prochaine. Mercredi, la présidente présidera la réunion hebdomadaire du collège. Jeudi, elle prononcera un discours par visioconférence à l'événement The State of the Union, organisé par l'Institut universitaire européen de Florence. Puis vendredi, la présidente se rendra à Porto pour le sommet social qui est organisé par la présidence portugaise du Conseil. Samedi, toujours à Porto, la présidente participera à la réunion informelle de chefs d'État ou de gouvernement. Et plus tard le même jour, elle participera aussi à la réunion de dirigeants de l'UE et de l'Inde. Je passe maintenant la parole à Adalbert pour une annonce sur un accord politique atteint hier soir.
Merci, Eric. Last night, the European Parliament and the Council reached a political agreement on interim rules for voluntary detection measures for child sexual abuse online by service providers. We strongly welcome this agreement that was urgently needed. The voluntary detection measures allow online communication services such as webmail and messaging services to spot and report child sexual abuse online and remove child sexual abuse material. Such measures help reduce the further dissemination of this illegal material. More importantly still, they play a key role in allowing the identification and rescue of victims, as well as prosecution of offenders. The interim rules are required to give legal certainty to online communication services applying these measures. They will also provide guarantees to safeguard privacy and protection of personal data. Before it enters into force, the regulation must be formally adopted by the European Parliament and the Council. We will also propose later this year new comprehensive legislation with detailed safeguards to fight child sexual abuse online and offline. These long-term rules will aim to replace the interim legislation agreed yesterday. For more information on the agreement, please refer to a press release we published last night.
Thank you very much, Adalbert. This brings us to the end of our announcements for today, and we can go to your questions, and I pass the floor to Amaya.
Hello?
Let's move the microphone a bit away from
Okay.
Voilà.
Okay, that's better now?
Better, yeah.
Okay, thanks. This is Amaya Portugal from the Basque Public Radio. So today is the last day of the soft deadline for member states to deliver their recovery plans. So I would like to know if you could give us an update. We know that 5 member states have already sent the plan. So how many plans are you expecting to receive in the next few hours? And if there are some member states that are not going to reach the deadline, when is it going to be? If they are going to deliver by mid-May or maybe later? Thanks.
Thank you, Amaya. Question for Marta.
Thank you very much for your question, and it gives me indeed an opportunity to update you all on the state of play on the Recovery and Resilience Plan submission. So indeed, so far we have received officially 5 plans. So on those we have communicated in the last days. You have seen our press releases. Of course, you've also seen the President's tweets. So we have received the plans of Portugal, Greece, Germany, Slovakia, and France. We, of course, expect a number of member states to submit their plans this afternoon. I cannot give you at this stage, of course, information on who exactly and at what moment. We will, of course, do our best to communicate it to you officially as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we stay on the issue of the national recovery plans and the recovery and resilience facility more generally. Other questions on this? So please only keep your hand raised if it is on this. I have a question from David.
Hello, is this working?
It is, yes, go ahead.
It's a question about Naftogaz, the Ukrainian gas company. There was a statement from the US Department that this raises concerns, also from the G7 ambassadors. I was wondering if the EU had some statement because, you know, of the MFA program and other commitments by Ukraine.
Thank you very much. But as I was saying before, we are on the chapter of national reform plans, not on foreign affairs. So if you don't mind, we will come back to your question later. As I was saying, please only keep your hand raised if it is on the issue of national reform plans and the Recovery and Resilience Facility. Katalin.
Thank you very much, Eric. Two short questions. Can you confirm that former Commissioner Navracsics held talks in the Commission yesterday about the Hungarian recovery plan, and if yes, whether he met any commissioner? And the second question, on the basis of the preliminary talks of the Commission with the Member States, do you have an idea how many Member States would like to take up loans beside the grants? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So on your first questions about meetings of commissioners, I mean, of course, we have a public calendar where we communicate officially on official meetings between commissioners and other stakeholders. So I invite you to consult that. On other type of meetings in the context of recovery and resilience plans, as you know, there's a lot of technical meetings ongoing, again, with different stakeholders. We, of course, do not comment on the details of those meetings and, of course, the name of the participants. So I'm afraid I cannot give you further information on that. Thank you. Sorry, and the preliminary.
Yeah.
Thank you. And there was indeed another question on the loans component. I mean, as you have seen, whenever we get an official submission of a recovery and resilience plan, we do communicate on the amounts of grants and loans requested. So this is publicly available information. Of course, at the moment, I won't be able to comment on potential further requests since we haven't received yet the official submissions of the remaining member states. Thank you.
A good reason to read our press releases. Tommaso.
Yes, good morning, Tommaso Galabate in Kronos, Italy. It's a question about Italy. I've heard that there have been a lot of conference calls with the Minister of Finance in Rome. I wonder if there is any particular problem concerning the Italian recovery and resilience plan, as our government seems particularly keen on respecting the deadline of April the 30th. Thank you.
Marta.
Thank you very much. Again, as you know, we are not commenting on the current discussions with member states in the preparations of the recovery and resilience plans. So I won't be able to give you any more specifics about that. As you know, we have engaged and we're still engaging with member states on the finalization of their plans. Here, the overall objective is to obviously address any gaps that could be in those, could be still present in the plans, or ask for any additional information. But again, at this stage, I'm not in a position to give you more details. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorenzo.
Oui, j'ai une question très technique, si vous voulez. Est-ce que la Commission a l'intention de publier en fin de journée, aujourd'hui, étant donné que c'est l'échéance, le deadline prévu, même si, même si indicatif, un résumé de tous les plans qui ont été présentés avec tous les grants and loans qui ont été demandés par les États membres, surtout la composante prête, c'est important parce que ça peut changer par rapport à ce qu'on avait prévu. Ça nous aiderait beaucoup pour faire une sorte de résumé de la situation au moment où il y a l'échéance, en fait, le 30 avril. Merci.
Oui, merci beaucoup. Effectivement, nous souhaitons communiquer le plus rapidement possible sur les plans qu'on recevra cet après-midi. Donc oui, nous allons publier des communiqués de presse, un ou deux, ça dépendra de la situation. Donc bien sûr, nous souhaitons vous tenir au courant. Et bien évidemment, nous allons communiquer dans chaque de ces communiqués de presse les montants qui ont été demandés par les États membres, à la fois pour les prêts et pour les subventions. Merci.
Merci. Jorge.
Hi, good morning. I have two questions. First, following on Amaya's question, I know that you said that your priority is quality over speed, but at least could you tell us if in contact with the capitals you have an estimate when the plans will come? Because I guess it's not the same early May that end of May. So when more or less are you expecting to receive almost all the plans? And secondly, even though you are not going to comment in the details of the conversations, could you tell us if you had any contact with the Spanish government at political level or technical level over the last 48 hours, for example? Because we know that Spain was going to be among the first 3-4 countries, and we see how all these countries that were expected to send the plans first, they already done it, except Spain. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So again, on the planning. So as I said, we do expect to receive a significant number of plans today. However, as you have also said yourself, we only have an orientation date of 30th of April. So we do expect some other members to send their plans in the coming weeks. Again, I'm not in a position to give you precise number of countries and precise dates. It's really up to the member states to decide when they're ready to submit their plans. And of course, in that time frame remaining, we do continue to engage with all member states on the finalization of their plans. I obviously am not aware of all the detailed discussions or the meetings are taking place, but I'm confident that basically teams are engaging with all member states at this stage, including with Spain, of course. Yeah, that's probably all I can say at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sandor.
It's a follow-up question on what Katalin asked about the loans. Do we know that from the 5 countries that already submitted their plans, how many asked for loans? Because yesterday one Hungarian government minister said that almost no member states, or maybe just 5 member states in total, will ask for loans in the recovery plans.
Sandor, it's in the press releases. We issue a press release either individually for each country or by groups of countries if we have received them. So it's, this is why we produce this material, and you've had it in certain cases for a certain time. So I'm trying to do a bit of advertising for this product, because I believe that in this case, in particular specific. It's really helpful in the sense that it gives you precisely the information that you're asking for. I give the information to Marta in case she wants to add specific details on what we know already.
No, I mean, absolutely. We understand that this is an important information that is of interest to all of you. So we do try to provide you the best information we can, which is concise, but also obviously very targeted. So indeed, we have received 5 plans so far. And if you read the press releases carefully, you will see, for example, that the Greek recovery and resilience plans request both grants and loans, same as for Portugal. So I will not give you now the full amounts. I think all is very, very well accessible on our website, so please have a look there. And again, as I stressed, throughout the day, we'll be communicating on the requests received. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I move to Matthijs. To change your mic source.
Yeah, it should work now. Sorry for the delay. If the pickup of loans is going to be so subdued as it seems to be right now, does that mean that the Commission is going to raise less money for the fund? I mean, if countries are not interested in the loans part, you might not need the full 800 billion.
Thank you. So on the loans, I wouldn't come to any premature conclusions at this stage. I mean, as I said, we have received 5 finalized plans. Some of them include requests for loans. We are expecting to receive more. So for the moment, I wouldn't jump immediately to any conclusion. Again, let me remind you that member states are also able to request loans at a later stage. So they don't have to request the loans now. They can do so in the years to come, and therefore I would say that for the moment it's indeed premature to conclude on anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions on NRPs? Elizabeth. Mic source is the issue, it seems. Okay, it's not working, Elizabeth. Yeah, so please contact us bilaterally afterwards. I see no further questions for us on the issue of the NRPs, the national reform programs or plans. So I go back to Daphne's question on Naftogaz, if I understood well. Daphne, you have the floor again.
Hello? Okay, I'm just pressing the button. This concerns Naftogaz. So on Wednesday, the CEO was dismissed of the Ukrainian company. There are commitments under the MFA, the EU's MFA programs to help Ukraine. These include commitments on corporate governance. Apparently, we've had statements from the US State Department quite critical of it, also of the G7 ambassadors. I was just wondering if it's now time for the EU to say something on this. Are you supportive of the move by the Ukraine government, or do you criticize it? Do you see concerns? Thanks.
Thank you. And indeed, we have serious concerns. We will issue a more comprehensive reaction shortly in form of a statement, but already now I can share with you that we are seriously concerned about these recent events at Naftogaz, and we are calling upon the leadership of Ukraine to ensure that the management decisions at state-owned enterprises are taken in full accordance with basic tenets of recognized corporate governance standards. And as I said, more comprehensive reaction will be issued shortly.
Thank you very much. So this opens our Foreign Affairs chapter. Are there other questions for Peter or Nabila today? That is not the case. So, I see that David has a follow-up question, it seems.
Yeah, sorry, pressing the buttons. On this, are there consequences foreseen? There are clear commitments in terms of corporate governance, and this has obviously been breached. So will there be consequences?
Well, let's not jump ahead. At this stage, we have the reaction. As I said, the more comprehensive reaction will be issued shortly. We are taking this issue with the Ukrainian partners. So first of all, we state our position on this, our reaction to the events. And you know that we are in constant contact with our Ukrainian counterparts on various issues at various levels. And this is a constant engagement because Ukraine is a very important partner to the European Union. We are supporting the reform efforts with the unprecedented amount of assistance, both financial and political. So of course, this will be something taken up with the partners, but I think it's premature to speak about specific consequences.
Je vois que l'appétit pour les questions affaires étrangères a augmenté un petit peu, et donc maintenant nous avons une question de Christian.
En fait j'en ai deux. Je voudrais savoir sur l'affaire Naftogaz.
Christian, tu sens
que la gestion de... Est-ce que vous m'entendez ou pas? Ok, donc je voudrais un petit point sur la question Naftogaz. qui est quand même un problème qui se pose depuis bien des années dans les relations UE-Ukraine, qui est un grand pays de transit pour les achats de gaz russe. Je voulais savoir si vous aviez des problèmes sur la gestion de Naftogaz, ou si vous aviez eu des problèmes et ils avaient été réglés. Ça, c'est un point. Et ma deuxième question nous emmène à une toute autre région du monde, et c'est Madagascar, où les Nations Unies viennent de lancer un appel assez désespérant sur un désastre humanitaire, et ont lancé un appel, le PAM a lancé un appel pour récupérer 75 millions de dollars d'urgence pour venir en aide à une population qui est en train de mourir de faim. Alors sur ce point, je voudrais savoir si vous avez l'intention de répondre à cet appel du PAM et dans quelle mesure, et question accessoire, est-ce qu'on a encore de l'argent dans le budget pour ce genre d'opération?
Merci. Peter pourra certainement répondre à la première question, mais la deuxième question, je pense, serait plutôt pour Balázs, mais je pense que nous devrons revenir vers toi ultérieurement sur cette question.
La première question, je peux seulement rappeler en général que nous soutenons l'Ukraine dans les efforts de réforme. Nous soutenons les réformes en Ukraine avec beaucoup d'assistance, beaucoup d'aide. Et nous sommes en contact avec les partenaires ukrainiens. Donc nous essayons de trouver des solutions pour tous les problèmes. Et l'Ukraine a déjà réussi beaucoup de progrès dans tous les domaines que nous travaillons ensemble, aussi dans le domaine de corporate governance réforme. Donc c'est une chose que c'est un processus et bien sûr nous discutons tous les sujets ouverts. Je ne suis pas sûr si Tim veut ajouter quelque chose sur l'aspect énergétique, mais dans ce sens, je peux seulement répéter que nous sommes très engagés avec l'Ukraine. L'Ukraine a réussi beaucoup de progrès avec les réformes et nous allons continuer notre engagement dans ce domaine.
Tim, do you want to add something? No. He says no.
No, he says no.
Christian, tu as une question de suivi.
Oui, alors, je voudrais une précision. Les sérieuses préoccupations que tu viens d'émettre, Peter, c'est pour le limogeage ou pour la situation du groupe?
Ce sont les développements et les décisions récentes dans Naftogaz.
Merci. Et donc, nous reviendrons vers toi ultérieurement sur ta question concernant Madagascar. Y a-t-il d'autres questions pour nous aujourd'hui sur les relations extérieures? Ça ne semble pas être le cas. Merci. Et donc, j'ouvre les débats sur d'autres sujets. Monica.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, hi, Monica Prantruk at the New York Times. So my question is on Frontex. There was an article published yesterday in the Spiegel reporting how Frontex is basically instructing Libyan Coast Guard to intercept migrant boats in the central Mediterranean. And these allegations come, on top of the ongoing issues in the Aegean. So I was wondering, do you have a comment? Is the Commission doing something? And what can be done to finally ensure that Frontex is accountable? And the second part of my question is that the story also reported distress and mental health problems among Frontex officers in the Warsaw headquarters, and because of the character of their work. And what is the Commission doing to ensure their mental well-being? Thank you.
Adalbert.
Thank you, Monica. Quite a multifaceted question, so let me maybe take it part by part. So starting maybe with very strictly the legal question of whether it is legal for Frontex to provide sighting information to the Libyan Coast Guard. I think it's important to emphasize that informing the relevant marine rescue coordination or maritime rescue coordination centers in a region where a distress situation occurs is an undisputable obligation under the international law of the sea. and so we do not consider the transmission of sighting information of vessels in distress in the Libyan territorial sea or in the search and rescue area under the responsibility of Libya to the Libyan authority recognized by the International Maritime Organization as the responsible authority to be a violation of law. And in general, saving the life of people on board of a vessel in distress is an absolute priority. Now, when it comes to the question of accountability, of the accountability of the agency or control of the agency, I would like to emphasize that the Commission fully plays its role in the management board of the agency and makes sure that the board takes up all relevant issues to allow the agency to make progress. And in fact, at the next management board meeting on the 7th of May, which is next Friday, the Commission will bring up the issue of search and rescue in the Mediterranean and contacts with the Libyan Coast Guard to make sure that there is full clarity on the subject. And more broadly, as you may know, the Management Board has identified issues in relation to the agency's serious incident reporting process. Now, to make sure that the board follows closely the remedial actions that have been requested from the agency, the Commission has been supportive of the proposal made by the executive board of the agency, so a smaller group under the leadership of the chair, to set up a permanent working group within the management board on the issues of governance, fundamental rights, and operations. And at the next extraordinary management board meeting, the Commission will continue working to build support for this proposal, in particular by making a presentation to the Member States' representatives on the management board to outline why such a permanent group is in fact necessary. And finally, about your question about the mental health of staff of Frontex, I believe this is more a question to the agency itself. As Frontex is a decentralized agency, it is the agency itself that is responsible for its staff and has the duty of care towards its personnel. So these issues, which may indeed be very important in the context of the difficult work done by the staff of the agency, is something that would be the responsibility of the agency's management to address.
Thank you very much. Adalbert, I know, Martha, that your question is on something else. So I go to David if you have an issue on question on this.
Oui, merci Eric. J'aurais trois questions si je peux. La première, selon un communiqué du groupe des Verts au Parlement européen, le problème c'est que M. Leggeri a menti. Je pense que, apparemment, selon le groupe des Verts, il avait assuré qu'il n'y avait pas de coopération entre Frontex et les gardes-côtes libyens. Donc je voulais savoir si en fait cette question se pose ou pas pour vous, vu que chaque fois M. Leggeri rassure la commissaire et j'imagine aussi le vice-président Skinas à propos de tout ça, mais en fait, les problèmes s'accumulent. Deuxième question technique, qui a le pouvoir éventuellement de faire en sorte que M. Leggeri parte? Est-ce que la Commission a ce pouvoir ou c'est dans Frontex, c'est un autre comité exécutif ou autre? Troisième question, il y a la décharge du Parlement européen qui n'a pas été donnée pour Frontex. Encore une fois, pour plusieurs raisons. Est-ce que vous avez un commentaire sur cela? Merci.
D'accord, merci beaucoup David. Donc sur ta première question, je pense que c'est plutôt au directeur exécutif de clarifier éventuellement s'il y a des malentendus par rapport à telle ou telle déclaration qu'il aurait fait au Parlement européen. Évidemment, l'agence reste responsable devant le Parlement européen et le Conseil selon le règlement qui établit son mandat. Et donc, c'est plutôt une question au directeur exécutif. Ceci dit, je pense qu'il n'est pas, ce n'est pas du tout une information nouvelle ou surprenante que dans le cadre de ces opérations, lorsque l'agence repère un bateau qui aurait besoin d'aide de garde-côte de tel ou tel État, l'agence informe tous les centres de coordination de sauvetage en mer dans la région pour s'assurer que cette assistance serait fournie le plus rapidement possible. Et je pense que c'est aussi quelque chose que j'ai eu l'opportunité de répéter plusieurs fois sur ce podium. Ensuite, concernant ta question technique, je pense que si tu lis attentivement le règlement concernant l'agence, qui est effectivement très, très long et très détaillé, tu verras que s'il s'agissait de demander un changement à la tête de l'agence, il reviendrait à la commission de faire une proposition au conseil d'administration, et ensuite le conseil d'administration devrait approuver cette proposition. Et enfin, concernant la décharge, effectivement, nous avons évidemment bien vu que le Parlement européen a décidé de repousser à plus tard le fait de donner sa décharge à l'agence. De manière générale, toutes les agences doivent respecter les principes du règlement financier de manière appropriée. Les budgets de l'agence sont sujets au même mécanisme de contrôle que le reste du budget européen. Ceci étant, en tant qu'agence décentralisée de l'Union européenne, c'est l'agence elle-même, donc Frontex, qui décide de la manière dont elle gère son budget et est donc sujet à une procédure de décharge séparée devant le Parlement européen. Donc ça ne fait pas partie de la procédure de décharge du budget de la Commission européenne. Le directeur exécutif est aussi responsable devant le Parlement européen en ce qui concerne l'utilisation du budget selon cette procédure, et c'est le management de l'agence qui a la responsabilité finale pour la légalité, la régularité des transactions dans les comptes de l'agence. Et comme je l'ai dit déjà, de manière générale, l'agence est donc responsable devant le Parlement européen et le Conseil, comme c'est prévu dans le règlement qui établit son mandat. La Commission ne peut que s'attendre à ce que l'agence continue à collaborer pleinement avec le Parlement et le Conseil et suivre à la lettre tous les règlements, y compris le règlement financier.
David, tu as une question de suivi? Non. Ok. Je ne vois plus d'autres questions sur ce sujet, et donc je reviens à Martha, qui avait une question sur l'état de droit. Martha.
Hi, thank you very much, Eric. Marta from Spanish Public Television. My question is in rule of law. I think that today several judicial associations, Spanish ones, are meeting with the European Commission. I don't know if they have met yet. In the framework of supervision of rule of law, I wonder, because these associations are the same that a week ago complained to the European Commission about the general reform in Spain. So I wonder if you can confirm me if this meeting has taken place, and if it is so, if you can tell me the exact purpose or any concrete conclusions or information about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martha. A question for Christian.
Yes, hello, Marta. Well, look, we are talking here about the preparatory meetings for the rule of law report. There are hundreds of such meetings, I think between 200 and 300. We are expecting this year with all member states, with all 27 member states. The purpose of these meetings is to feed into the preparations of the rule of law report, of our analysis. So for this reason, the Commission meets with all important stakeholders on rule of law issues, namely, of course, judges, prosecutors, other stakeholders from the government side, and of course also NGOs and other stakeholders relevant for the issues of the rule of law report in the respective country. It is correct that these days there are end of April there are meetings taking place for the preparation, virtual meetings with Spanish stakeholders, but we will not start providing a running commentary or details about these meetings. You will find, of course, the Commission analysis on Spain, as on all other member states, then in the rule of law report once it is ready.
Thank you, Christian. Are there other rule of law related questions for Christian today? No, so I open the floor to other issues. I believe that Tommaso had a question. Tommaso, you have the floor.
Hi, good afternoon. So I have a question concerning the mandatory hotel quarantine scheme imposed by the Irish authorities to the citizens coming from Belgium, Italy, France and Luxembourg, if I'm not mistaken. We know that the Commission sent a letter more than 10 days ago to the Irish government concerning this issue. Did the Commission receive any reply? And if yes, did the Irish government clarify how many EU citizens have been stuck in quarantine since this scheme is in place? And considering that the Dublin government is implementing this policy, will the Commission start an infringement procedure for the breach of the EU law, namely about the principle of non-discrimination? Thank you.
Thank you. It's also a question for Christian.
Yes, thank you for the question, Tommaso, and for following this closely. You're right that the deadline of the 10 working days has passed today. We have, however, been asked by the Irish authorities to grant a slight extension to this deadline for 3 working days, meaning that we expect a reply from Ireland on this important issue at the latest next Wednesday, the 5th of May.
Thank you. Are there other questions on this issue for Christian? Tommaso, follow-up question.
Yeah, well, a follow-up on this situation, but also more in general. I mean, it seems that this issue might be kind of the entrée of what's going to be the situation this summer with the green certificate, with the COVID-19 European certificate. What are you going to do in the case the Irish government does not change its mind and keeps implementing a quarantine which is based not on the ECDC assessments and which might be discriminatory to many European citizens? Thank you.
I believe that Christian will not go into that until we have received the answer from the Irish authorities. But Christian, do you want to add anything?
Well, I think I can just reply that, just remind that indeed we have concerns regarding this measure as regards proportionality and non-discrimination that we have made clear. This is why we have sent the letter. And now, of course, as Eric says, we will need to see what the reply of the Irish government is to this before deciding on any further possible steps. As regards the green certificate, maybe let me remind once again, I mean, this is a slightly different issue, of course, and also the green certificate. In this case, we're talking about the regulation, which will come into force, hopefully by June, which means that it will be, in any case, directly applicable in the member states. So we are very hopeful that this system will work, and it will be a right the European citizens will have to get this certificate.
Thank you. Now I see only one hand raised, and it is an old friend who I believe is no longer in Brussels, so we're going to get into trouble with Appy, but nevertheless, James, I see you're still connected to our system. Happy to give you the floor.
Yes. Sorry, Eric. I'm not quite cut off from the continent yet. Just a very quick question. It's to do with quarantine and non-discrimination. Would it be fair to say that the current UK rules insist that people go into quarantine, tourists go into quarantine, even if they are vaccinated? The digital green certificate rules more sensibly suggest you don't have to quarantine if you have been vaccinated. So would it be fair to say that any future UK-EU agreement on this would have to be on the basis of reciprocity? I can never pronounce that. But basically, EU citizens coming to Britain for their holidays would have to follow the same rules as UK citizens coming to the EU can benefit from. Thank you.
Reciprocity. Christian.
Well, thank you, James, for the question. I'm afraid it's a bit difficult for me to speculate about these questions at this point in time. As you said before, we are open to working with third countries on this issue, and there's this possibility for third countries to receive an adequacy decision if they have a similar and secure system in place. But we are not in such discussions with the UK for the time being, so I would not like to go into this at this stage. I mean, let me be clear, just in general on the digital green certificate, that what is foreseen in the rules is, while it is for member states ultimately to decide under their competence on quarantine. Of course, there's an expectation that member states will take this as an opportunity to alleviate the restrictions and not require them. And if they do so, they would have to notify the Commission and other member states and justify this decision.
But the question, thank you very much, Christian. The question that you raise, James, is one which, of course, could apply to discussions on travelers coming from other third countries. And I think what we need to do is to distinguish between the issue of adequacy decisions on systems that record the health status, such as a digital green certificate in Europe, so similar systems in other member states, and the conditions under which travelers from third countries could come to the EU and vice versa. And on this, I'll give the floor to Adalbert. They're, of course, linked, but they are nevertheless separate.
Thank you very much, and indeed it's a good opportunity to just to mention the different frameworks in which we are looking at the interlinked aspects of this question. So Christian was referring to the issue of digital green certificates and discussions with third countries as to the question of recognition of the digital green certificates as such. So looking at making sure that we have a proof of somebody's status in relation to the virus. Then there is the linked but separate question of who can or cannot come into the EU and under what conditions, and that is dealt with by the Council recommendation on the restriction on non-essential travel. And right now, this restriction applies to essentially almost all countries in the world, and it means that the Council recommends that nobody can enter the EU for non-essential reasons. And this is a measure which the EU has taken, or the Council has taken, on the basis of epidemiological criteria alone, and it is not subject in itself to discussions with other countries. There is a reciprocity element in there. However, it is separate from the issue of digital green certificates at present. And then finally, there's a final aspect to this, which is also something you referred to, James, which is that when somebody is authorized to enter the EU either because they come from one of these few countries that have a good enough epidemiological situation or because they have an essential reason, then there are also health related measures that member states apply in order to make sure that this happens in a safe way. And that is something that is very much national competence, and although the Council recommendation contains certain indications and guidance to the member states, the precise measures are again going to be decided specifically by each member state depending on their individual situation. And again, that is in itself not necessarily subject of any negotiations with third countries, at least not on the EU level, given that it is national competence and something that is very much linked to the specific sanitary situation in each member state. I hope that clarifies a bit.
Thank you. Are there other questions on this issue for us today? I see one hand raised, either on that or on something else. Pierre, tu as la parole.
Est-ce que tu m'entends? Est-ce que tu m'entends?
Absolument, Pierre, vas-y.
Absolument, Pierre, vas-y. J'ai une question, toutes les questions techniques sur le certificat numérique vert, on a eu les réponses ce matin. J'ai une question un peu plus soit politique, soit sociétale pour toi. L'objectif affiché, c'est de vacciner 70% de la population adulte. Le certificat numérique vert concerne uniquement, pour la partie vaccination, ceux qui ont droit à la vaccination, c'est-à-dire les personnes de plus de 18 ans, vu les règles actuelles de l'Agence européenne des médicaments. On a l'impression que les mineurs, les enfants ne sont pas une préoccupation majeure. Je sais qu'on est un continent vieillissant, mais ça ne donne pas beaucoup envie de faire des enfants, d'en avoir ou de voyager avec. Est-ce que la Commission regrette que les États membres n'aient pas fait plus pour essayer de se coordonner sur les mouvements des mineurs qui ont peut-être le droit de se déplacer aussi?
Écoute, ce n'est pas vraiment une question sociétale, je pense que c'est une question aussi technique, et je vais repasser la parole à Christian sur ce sujet. Pour rappel, le certificat lui-même ne concerne pas que la vaccination. Il va aussi permettre de déterminer si une personne qui n'aurait pas été vaccinée, par exemple, a un test PCR, ou si cette personne a des anticorps liés à une infection à la Covid précédente. Donc c'est plus large qu'un simple document sur le statut vaccination. Mais sur la liberté de mouvement en ce qui concerne les mineurs, je repasse la parole à Christiane.
Oui, merci Eric. Oui, c'est exactement ça. Alors, un des principes de base de ce certificat vert est la non-discrimination. Et c'est pour cette raison qu'on a en fait 3 certificats. Et ça veut dire pour les enfants, il y a toujours la possibilité de prendre un test ou alors d'avoir un certificat de recovery, si ça c'est le cas. Et aussi, il faut aussi voir que dans beaucoup de cas, il y a aussi des exceptions pour les mineurs, des mesures dans les États membres. Alors ça, c'est les situations pour les enfants, mais c'est vraiment important de répéter que la non-discrimination, c'est un des principes fondamentaux. Et ça s'est assuré avec les différents types de certificats.
Voilà, donc il s'agit bien de s'assurer que les familles puissent voyager ensemble ou que les enfants puissent voyager aussi dans l'Union européenne. Pierre, tu as une question de suivi.
Oui, c'est pour ça que je disais que ma question était peut-être plus sociétale ou politique. Ces points-là, on les a vus ce matin, effectivement. Le fait que les enfants qui sont en situation de guérison pour avoir été infectés, ou les enfants qui ont un test PCR sont effectivement couverts par les 2/3 du certificat vert numérique européen, mais vous parlez d'égalité à l'instant, on a l'impression que le fait qu'ils soient exclus des vaccins ne pose pas le problème d'égalité entre les adultes et les enfants. Et c'est pour ça que je demandais si la Commission ne dirait pas qu'il n'y a pas eu plus d'initiatives d'harmonisation peut-être au niveau des États membres, plus qu'autre chose, mais pour que les exceptions qu'on mentionnait exactement à l'instant, que Christiane mentionnait exactement à l'instant, puissent être étendues ou harmonisées.
Pierre, je ne suis pas sûr qu'on se comprenne bien parce que, en ce qui concerne la vaccination, c'est une question principalement scientifique. À la base, tu sais que les discussions sur les bénéfices de la vaccination pour les enfants est une discussion qui évolue. Il y a eu une annonce, par exemple, très récente de BioNTech Pfizer sur le fait qu'ils allaient soumettre un dossier d'autorisation pour leur vaccin à l'Agence européenne du médicament. Et donc, je pense que de notre point de vue, bien entendu, nous allons continuer à suivre cette discussion scientifique et l'accompagner d'un point de vue politique au niveau européen. Pour rappel, justement, nous sommes en négociation avec BioNTech Pfizer pour la finalisation d'un contrat portant sur 1,8 milliard de doses, y compris afin de pouvoir vacciner les enfants et les adolescents. Donc il ne s'agit absolument pas, du point de vue de la Commission européenne, de dire que, une fois pour toutes, les enfants devraient être exclus de la vaccination. Simplement, je crois qu'il y a eu un débat scientifique et médical sur la nécessité ou non de vacciner les enfants, et ce débat a évolué, il continuera à évoluer, et bien entendu, nous allons l'accompagner avec les mesures appropriées, comme par exemple ce contrat. Et ça fait aussi partie des choses que notre incubateur HERA regarde et regardera. Et un des premiers résultats, d'ailleurs, c'est cette négociation dont je viens de te parler. Donc je crois qu'il y a quelque part un malentendu sur le fait que nous souhaitions inclure uniquement une partie de la population dans l'effort vaccinal et non pas les jeunes. Ce ne serait pas correct de dire cela, je crois. Voilà. Merci. Laura, une autre question sur ce sujet.
Good morning, everyone. It's Laura Valentini for Total Production. Some Italian regions are implementing COVID certificates for travels across regional borders. Could the European Digital Green Certificate be used also for this purpose in order to avoid an overload of similar digital infrastructures? Thank you.
Thank you. Question for Christian again.
I'm sorry, the sound was so low in the system here, I could really not understand the question. Could you maybe repeat the key points?
No, I think basically the question was whether, in order to avoid an oversupply of digital solutions, we considered that the certificate could be used also inside EU countries, for example, for interregional travel in Italy.
Okay, thank you, Eric. This is really a matter that is completely up to the member states. The regulation does not regulate this. Of course, the system will be in place, and it will be in place on time. We just had an extensive technical briefing on this with Johannes. But as for other users in the member states, this is a matter for member states who would have to ensure, the necessary legal basis at the national level for this.
Thank you. We will soon have to wrap up our midday briefing because we have a press conference following at 1. So I will take two last quick questions from Verena and then Christian. Verena.
Hi. Thanks for the question.
Yeah.
You can hear me, I take it, even though you can't see me, I suppose. Anyway, just a quick clarification to Christian on the principle of non-discrimination. If I were vaccinated as a parent and would travel with my child that would only have the option to test, since vaccination goes for months and testing goes for days or hours, how does this work? will the child have to quarantine? Will they have to retest in the country of destination? How could this be non-discriminatory if it's basically apples and oranges? Thank you.
Verena, if I may, let me remind you that the proposal that the Commission has made is about an information tool that provides the status of the person, whether that person has been vaccinated, has made a recent test, or has recovered from the disease. The proposal itself does not regulate what member states are going to put in place in terms of measures to the people who are carrying this certificate. Now, as we have been at pains to point out, the proposal does say that we believe that based on this proposal, member states should alleviate the burdens on travelers that have such a certificate, and they must do so in a coordinated and non-discriminatory fashion. But there will still be a component there of member state capacity to determine what it is that they want to do. So we're not in a position to answer those questions at this point in time. Christian.
Je ne sais pas non plus si vous allez pouvoir répondre à cette question qui est un peu pratique, mais comme vous êtes un petit peu chargé de coordonner, d'expliquer un peu à tout le monde ce qui se passe, on est en train d'assouplir énormément les mesures de restriction qui ont été prises dans la plupart des États membres. Pas partout, mais pour prendre un exemple bien concret, la France a levé et la Belgique ont levé les restrictions qui concernaient les passages entre les deux pays. Le problème, c'est, je voudrais savoir, on fait des efforts pour se faire vacciner. On a commencé pour la plupart dans ma tranche d'âge à nous faire vacciner. On a une première injection. Et on n'a rien qui démontre qu'on a eu une première injection. C'est-à-dire qu'au mois de mai, je vais me rendre en France et je n'ai aucune preuve qui dise que j'ai été vacciné et que j'ai reçu la première injection contre le Covid. Comment est-ce qu'on fait ? Comment est-ce que je peux démontrer, comment est-ce que je peux prouver ma bonne foi et ne pas être obligé d'aller passer un test qui ne va pas m'apporter grand-chose puisque j'ai reçu une première dose de vaccin? C'est un côté pratique, c'est un côté idiot, je sais. Je ne sais pas si vous pouvez y répondre, mais je me pose cette question et donc je vous la pose et puis on verra bien ce que vous allez répondre.
Merci. Christian, normalement, quand tu vas te faire vacciner, tu dois recevoir un document, je pense, qui dit que tu as été vacciné. Mais par ailleurs, il y a des petits carnets, les fameux petits carnets jaunes de l'OMS, qui permettent d'obtenir la preuve de vaccination. Il y a justement, au niveau des différents États membres, j'imagine, différents systèmes pour avoir la preuve que l'on a été vacciné. Ce sur quoi nous sommes en train de travailler, c'est précisément ce que tu dis, c'est un outil qui va nous permettre d'assurer une reconnaissance mutuelle automatique parce que nous partageons ton souci que la situation actuelle n'est pas satisfaisante, en ce sens que si quelqu'un vient avec un document dans une langue qui n'est pas comprise dans le pays de destination, cela peut mener à des problèmes. Mais une chose est sûre, normalement, à partir du moment où tu te fais vacciner, il faut que tu demandes une preuve de ta vaccination. Ce que le système va faire, c'est rendre en quelque sorte automatique le transfert de ces informations vers les systèmes d'information de la sécurité sociale des États membres et faire en sorte que sur base de cette information enregistrée dans ces bases de données, tu puisses avoir un code qui, lui, sera reconnaissable partout en Europe. Mais c'est encore en construction. Mais en attendant, je te recommande, mais là c'est vraiment une recommandation à titre personnel, peut-être de reprendre langue avec les autorités pour obtenir une preuve de ta première injection. Je vais moi-même aller faire ma première injection début mai et je viendrai avec mon petit passeport jaune de l'OMS que je garde depuis plus de 30 ans. Voilà. Christian, tu as une question de suivi et ça sera la dernière car ensuite nous allons passer à la conférence de presse.
Mais oui, mais je me permets de rebondir, parce que là, tu poses vraiment un problème. On est à Bruxelles, c'est la capitale de l'Europe. Il y a des citoyens de tous les pays de l'Union européenne. Je suis allé me faire vacciner, et bien évidemment. La première chose que j'ai demandé au centre d'information, c'est comment puis-je avoir une preuve de ma vaccination. On m'a répondu, désolé monsieur, il n'y en a aucune. Rien n'est prévu par les autorités belges pour témoigner que les gens qui sont venus se faire vacciner ont reçu leur injection. Ça pose un gros problème. Peut-être que M. Renders pourrait intervenir et dire qu'effectivement, il serait peut-être temps de pallier à ce vide. Parce que comme c'est la première chose que j'ai demandé. Parce que je suis en train de planifier de bouger. Ça fait 4 mois que la plupart des gens qui sont ici bloqués à Bruxelles ne peuvent pas. Donc on a enfin la possibilité d'aller tout à fait légalement dans nos pays, mais on n'a aucune preuve qui démontre pour les autorités qui vont faire des contrôles qu'on a été vacciné. Et ça, c'est pas faute de l'avoir demandé, c'est parce qu'il y a un gros hiatus à ce niveau-là. Je sais que tu vas pas pouvoir me répondre, mais je le dis, là, voilà.
Merci. Encore une fois, il revient aux États membres maintenant de mettre en place les systèmes d'information qui vont permettre à cette information d'être disponible. Et je pense que le message que tu nous adresses, tu dois l'adresser en premier lieu aux autorités nationales. C'est clair que le système que nous sommes en train de mettre en place travaillera sur base de l'enregistrement des données des personnes qui ont été vaccinées. Maintenant, est-ce qu'entre-temps, elles peuvent te donner une autre preuve? Ça, c'est à voir vraiment avec les autorités de chaque État membre. Voilà, merci. Je vais maintenant conclure ce rendez-vous de midi. Je vous souhaite un bon week-end. Restez connectés pour la conférence de presse qui va maintenant suivre. Merci.